with Egyptologist Samir Abbass. Thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Samir. First, we want to know more about the hidden and forgotten treasures and monuments in Cairo and around. But first, introduce to our audience our series of episodes which will tackle this issue.
So, good morning, Shireen. Good morning, Nancy. I'm glad to be with you today. We started this topic the last almost 2 weeks ago. I made an introduction about the hidden treasures of Egypt.
Yes.
And the reason why I choose this topic because I found out that we are covering less than 10% in our tour itineraries programs than we have. There is lots of very important sites in Egypt, hidden treasures, forgotten monuments, which is hardly being seen or visited. And to attract attention to these hidden treasures, that will increase the number of the nights of the people visiting Egypt, and they will make a repeated visitors as well. So people will not come only to stay only a week or 10 days. They can stay for 2 weeks or can become a year after a year to see more things every year. So that is the main reason why I choose this subject. And also to attract the public awareness as well that of their history and how important their history and how much sites and attractions played a great role in shaping the world history still there and hardly being seen.
Right.
So in the introduction, I just give a brief talk about the importance of these places. I give some examples, and today I'm planning to cover some of these attractions more in depth, organized according to geographical order. So today I'm planning to talk about Cairo and around. So there is a population of 20 million people living in Cairo and Giza and around, and that will be a good introduction, a good way to introduce these sites to a big population in Cairo, so they can go and see and learn about their own history and how great these monuments are.
Right. So tell us some of the hidden treasures then in Cairo.
Okay, so let's talk about like Giza. Like when I say Cairo and around, I mean Giza as well on the other side of the Nile River. So Giza is famous for Giza pyramids. That's what normally come to our mind. But in Giza pyramid itself, which is a very big site, I know that most of the visitors go to Giza pyramid, they spend like an hour and 2 hours. Their main focus is the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, and then they leave after that. But apart from the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, we had a very important attraction in Giza which is hardly seen. It's called the Sunboat Museum. So it is a small museum for displaying only one artifact. It is a boat made out of wood, cedar wood, and this boat is 4,500 years old. So with no exaggeration, this is the oldest preserved boat in the history of mankind. And the second oldest boat in known history after Noah's Ark.
Right.
And in a great condition, about 40 meters long. And that is resting in a small museum on the southern side of the Great Pyramid. Without exaggeration, I can tell that is visited by like maybe 5% of the people visiting Giza Pyramid visiting the museum, this museum. So this boat has been found around 1957, and that was by coincidence when they were removing the rubble and sand from around the pyramid, and they found this boat which is sealed, which is the idea. Around the world there is the Viking boats, for example. They are very famous and they are very well known, and it attracts the attention of lots of people who come and visit, who go on to Norway and visit mainly the Viking boats. The Viking boats compared to this boat is nearly 3,000 or 3,500 years newer than this boat.
Okay.
And that shows a comparison how important our boat compared to this one. That's one of the things which is, I think, that it should be highlighted today. Yes, so
also, we were talking about the religious center in Al-Mu'izz Street and how important it is.
So that will be also a new way to look at Al-Mu'izz Street in this area. But so when we talk about that a site which has different religions introduced, like normally come to our mind, Old Cairo or Coptic Cairo. That's where we have the synagogue, Ben Ezra synagogue, and many of the Coptic churches there. And across the street from there we have Amr ibn al-As Mosque. But in Mu'izz Street had lots of hidden treasures. Mu'izz Street has become very well known now, very well known mainly for Islamic monuments. But Mu'izz Street and the streets and alleys leading to Mu'izz Street is full with hidden treasures.
Okay.
There is lots of historical buildings there. There is Jewish temples as an evidence of a significance and a big Jewish population. They used to live in Cairo, in Egypt, and many of them, they live around this area. Even the alleys there is called the Jewish alleys around this area. There's still many of the houses still named after the Jewish owners there, and they have at least 2 temples there. One of them is very
and they're open to the public.
One of them is very well preserved, and is open to the public as a museum. Is not in service anymore.
Okay.
Another one, which is a church.
Yes.
There is like 2 or 3 churches around this area. There is one which is near Zuwela Gate. Zuwela, that will be the southern gate along the Maize Street. The Maize Street is nearly 1,000 meters or 1 kilometer. They start with the Hakim Mosque or the North Gate, the Futuh Gate in the north, and ends with the Zuwela Gate in the south. There is St. Mary Church close to the gate, and St. Mary Church, I have been there actually many times, is very rich with architectures. It's a very old church. Traditionally, it introduced as dates back to the 4th century AD, nearly 1,600 years old, but it had lots of relics and lots of icons. Another church, which is on the northern end as well, it had a very small museum, but very unique, with icons, with manuscripts, with many of the tools which is used in the churches back in the old time. And also there is a famous legends around this church that there is holy water which has come from the walls, and that's where pilgrims go there.
Okay.
So, which is other words that talking about religious community, like people from different backgrounds, from different religious backgrounds, Muslims, Christians, and Jewish, living together in harmony, working together, sharing the same space, the same lifestyle. That will be a very good example of that.
There was also, we spoke about the Ibn Tulun Mosque. That was something that you also wanted to highlight.
Yes, Ibn Tulun Mosque, as Shireen said before we start, is known for us as Muslims, as people living in Cairo, but for foreigners and tourists visiting Egypt, maybe 1% of the tourists visiting Egypt, they will go to Ibn Tulun Mosque. It is the oldest preserved mosque in Cairo, in Egypt now. So we know that the oldest one which is ever built in Cairo, the oldest mosque built in Cairo, Egypt and Africa, is Amr ibn As Mosque. But Amr ibn As Mosque is not existing in its original architecture today. Has been rebuilt, renovated more than 20 times since it was built until today. So it's only the history which remains, but the buildings and the bricks is not that from the time of the construction. Unlike Ibn Tulun Mosque, Ibn Tulun Mosque is still very well preserved in its original condition, and which is giving a very unique example of architectures. So apart from Ibn Tulun, apart from the religious center, as we call it, around the Maize Street, we go to the southwest of Cairo, we have Dahshur.
Right.
Dahshur has 2 pyramids, like the second biggest pyramid after Giza pyramids. And they are unique and very well preserved. And again, they are nearly 4,600 years old. So they are sitting there with no exaggeration. If there is like 100 bus visiting Giza, or that be maybe a small van or a sedan car with tourists will visit Dahshur. And that is because that is not well introduced. Dahshur is a very important because it helps people, or it helps us to understand the evolutions of the pyramids building. And without Dahshur, we will not have the great pyramid in Giza. And one of the great things about Dahshur is that there is still a virgin site to be excavated. I am pretty sure that there is many sunboats still buried there in Dahshur, not being discovered yet.
Right.
There is still hidden chambers. I'm pretty sure that there's still hidden chambers inside, especially the Bent Pyramid there, which is still not being discovered yet. And if we manage to put more attention, more effort in excavating this rich area, possibly we found one of the hidden tombs of one of the greatest kings who ruled Egypt, Senefru, which is the owner of those 2 pyramids.
Well, I think what you're saying is extremely interesting because, as you say, there are certain monuments that you know that this is what you're going to visit, be it an Egyptian or be it as a foreign tourist. How else do you hope that you will highlight these hidden treasures? Do you plan on talking to the Ministry of Tourism, for example? Do you want to talk to other Egyptologists, tour guides, tour companies, etc.? Because this is very important.
That's a very important question. Thank you, Nancy, for this question. So what we are doing now is part of the plan, of my plan to get these treasures known. So I have hundreds of photos of this place, which is I keep posting them. I have some small videos which I made myself. I keep posting them. I even created like a website mainly to introduce like all of Egypt attractions and focus on the Egyptian attractions. Myself, when I plan tours, I started my career as a tour guide. I am a tour operator now. And when I plan a tour for any visitors, I make sure that I will add many of these hidden treasures. And that's why in my own like business, I have many repeated people coming to Egypt year after year because I always keeping them excited to see more things. I also I have record of people which have visited me. I tour them myself 36 days in continuous. Every day in Egypt, I show you different things. So guess what they said when they are leaving Egypt? And when I asked them, so what you would like to do in your next vacation? They said, we would like to come back to Egypt because there is still hidden treasures we haven't seen yet. So of course, meeting the Ministry of Tourism, that will be an important thing because that is a national project.
Right.
To introduce these sites in the proper way for the good of Egypt and for the good of these sites as well, which needs more attention, needs more facilities, and that will be happens when we have more people coming.
Exactly.
So finally, we'd like to thank you, Mr. Samir Abbass, Egyptologist. Thank you, sir, for being with us.